Now to take your fuel filter off, there was a plastic cover here with plastic 10mm nuts on these two body studs. So you just take that off to expose your filter here. Now this will be a Torx 30. It can be pretty rusty. What I'll do is I'll stick a Torx 30 on there with a extension, and then just tap on the extension with a hammer, and that'll free up the rust there. And then hopefully it's just a screw, so even if it's rusty you should be able to unscrew it. But tap on it first. Tap on your extension, give it a decent whack, and then that should come out on the band here. But before you do that, while it's still secure in the band, loosen up your banjo bolts. And before you do that, you want to make sure you have it depressurized, because it'll spray. So there's on the fuel injection rail up on the engine, you can just little valve there, you can just press down with a small screwdriver on the valve and depressurize it so you don't get sprayed. You'll have a 17mm banjo bolt on this side and a 19 on the other side. The 7/8 will work on the filter itself to hold it and break that free. On the other side I just use, it's a bigger nut on the filter, so I'll just use an adjustable wrench to hold the filter, and then the 19mm box wrench to pop it free. Okay, putting the new fuel filter in. Got everything together here, the tools I'm going to need. Get 17, 19, 7/8, an adjustable wrench, my 30 Torx, 10mm for these little plastic nuts, and I'm going to lube up the studs that these nuts go on just to hold this shield that protects the fuel filter. I reconditioned my fuel filter strap there, and we're ready to go. I'll just show you a few little tips. I know I'm always harping on this, but you want to use this style seal with the rubber. Don't use the copper. You just run into problems. You've got to over torque it, and a lot of times it won't seal properly. I've run into that before, and you'll get a spray leak. The proper seal is the ones with the rubber on it, and don't reuse the old ones ever. You don't want a gas leak. It's dangerous. So get these new seals. There's 2 large ones for the large banjo bolt, 2 small ones for the small banjo bolt, and it's self-explanatory on which end they go. There's different size lines. So let's do it. So you got your inlet and outlet. You can see the inlet's on this side. It's a smaller size. So you slip your band on there. It's going to screw right in there. There's a little recess, a little tab there. Now you're going to find that the clearance on the tank side is tight, so before you tighten the filter in the strap, you're going to want to make sure you get that line started. So let's do that first. New seals. You just tighten them up by hand at first. If this screw, which happens sometimes, the threads can be so rusted out on them that there won't be any grip left on it. So in that case, you just go to the hardware store. What'll work is a large, just match it up, take your old one, and you basically it's a large sheet metal screw. Will work there, and you can put one in with a Phillips head, no problem. Get your new seals on there, one on each side. Put them in by hand. Now a little trick: once you've got it, your lines both snugged up by hand, then you can make sure you're centered on your strap and go ahead and tighten your strap up before you finish tightening up your lines. So I'll do that now. Yeah, that's nice and snug. Don't have to overdo it. Now on the large side, it's the 19, and I'm not even sure what size on the filter. It's just large, so I always just use an adjustable wrench. To hold the filter, even though you've got it in the strap, you want to hold it with that. And now a tip for tightening it up is you don't want to, as you tighten up the banjo bolt, you don't want the line to go around with it. So if you can kind of hold the line, because otherwise you're gonna get your line twisted up there, and it's gonna put pressure on the plastic line, just to keep it centered. So just be conscious of it when you're snuggling up your line. I'm checking that I'm not putting any undue strain on that by having it out of position. And again, I mentioned the nice thing with these is you really just only have to snug them up. You don't have to over torque them. And I know I keep harping on it, but those copper ones, I've had a nightmare with that before. You got to put so much torque on them, and then they still can leak. So on this side, I use my 7/8. I forget what that is metric. Maybe a 22 or something. I forget, but 7/8 is very close to the metric equivalent, so I use my 7/8. And the 17 is on the banjo bolt. And that's it. Now we're ready for a couple last little tips. Couple things. I'm a big fan of protecting everything from the rust, so I'll go ahead and spray up my screw there, and then these will rust. The banjo bolt heads that are exposed here, they'll rust, and actually over time they can build up quite a bit of scale on them, where it even makes the wrench hard to fit on. And so I'm going to go ahead and spray these with some of that that thick grease, as well as the on here. And then also the studs here for your plastic nuts. I've actually seen they use those same plastic nuts to hold on like fender liners in the front, and especially like on the newer 9.3s, the same thing. The studs are like part of the body, and those plastic nuts in the salt belt, you wouldn't think, because the plastic nut pretty much covers the whole thing, but it'll rust inside the plastic, and then when you go to take the nut off, it'll actually break the stud right off the body. So especially on those newer, the new 9.3 sports sedans that they made from 03 to 2011, in the front fender liners, I've seen many times where those just break right off. So I'm going to spray these up too to put my cover back on. That's basically it. No big deal, just take your time, follow those few tips, and you'll be successful. Hope this helps. Okay, a couple tips after you've changed the fuel pump, or even the fuel filter. First of all, if you did like I did and emptied the tank, then you want to put at least a couple gallons of gas in, because the fuel filter alone holds quite a bit. It's a big fuel filter, and you also have to have enough gas to fill the fuel pump canister. And what I'm doing is, the other tip is cycle the key a number of times, because what that does, the fuel pump relay will activate the fuel pump for a number of seconds, and then it will time out. So you don't want to just crank it. So what I'm doing, I'm filling up the fuel pump, the fuel filter, and the fuel line. And then I'll give it a go. See that it started right up. Otherwise you do a lot of cranking. Now I'll go check for leaks. Make sure the fuel filter is not leaking or anything. Everything should be good, but it's always good to just make sure. That's it.